Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Timeless Romance Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more forbidden attraction, dangerous secrets, and aristocratic romances that blur the line between duty and desire. Now let's begin. The storm did not ask permission. It arrived like a verdict, wind howling through the countryside, rain hammering the earth with ruthless intent, lightning splitting the sky as though it meant to expose every secret left unspoken. Isabella Moore was already soaked to the skin by the time her carriage jolted violently and came to a shuddering halt. "Stop!" she gasped, fingers clutching the seat. "Please stop." The driver hauled on the reins, swearing under his breath. The horses reared, hooves sliding in mud as thunder cracked overhead. "My lady," he said grimly, peering into the darkness. "We can't go on." Isabella leaned forward. "Why not?" Lightning illuminated the road ahead for a single terrifying second. The bridge was gone, swept away entirely. Her breath caught, then turned back. The driver shook his head. "The road behind us has flooded. We'll be trapped if we stay." Another thunderclap shook the carriage. Isabella swallowed hard. There must be a house nearby. An estate. Anything. The driver hesitated, then pointed into the rain. "There's land to the east. Blackridge. Locals don't go there." "Why?" "They say the Earl who owns it hasn't entertained a guest in years." She closed her eyes for half a second, then lifted her chin. "I don't care," she said. "Take me there." Blackridge Manor emerged from the storm like a watchful sentinel. Stone walls dark with rain, tall windows glowing faintly as if the house itself were awake. The carriage barely stopped before Isabella was out. Skirts clutched high, shoes sinking into mud as she climbed the steps and knocked. Once, twice. The door opened slowly. A man stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in dark clothing that seemed to absorb the light. Rain slicked his hair back from his face. His expression was carved from restraint, controlled, assessing, unreadable. "Yes," he said. "My lord," Isabella managed, voice trembling despite her resolve. "Forgive the intrusion, but my carriage is stranded." "The storm." "I know," he said calmly. "You shouldn't be here." "I had no choice." His gaze flicked past her to the rain, the lightning, the broken road beyond. A pause. Then, with visible reluctance, he stepped aside. "Kulmeen." Relief hit her so hard her knees nearly gave way. Warmth enveloped her the moment she crossed the threshold. Firelight, polished wood, the faint scent of leather and smoke. The door shut behind her with a heavy finality. "I am Isabella Moore," she said softly. "I swear I mean no trouble." "I'm sure," the man replied. "I am Nathaniel Ashcroft, Earl of Blackridge." Her heart skipped. She had heard of him. The reclusive Earl. Widowed. Cold. A man whispered about in society as untouchable, unyielding, and entirely uninterested in affection. "I will have a room prepared," Nathaniel continued. "At first light, your carriage will be dealt with. Until then, you will remain here." She nodded quickly. "Thank you, my lord." "Truly." A servant appeared, startled by her presence. "Prepare a chamber," Nathaniel ordered. "And bring dry clothes." "Yes, my lord." Isabella followed him through long corridors, the echo of her steps sounding far too loud in the vast silence. She told herself this was temporary. One night. One roof. Nothing more. But as she was shown into a richly appointed room, she felt it. An unsettling awareness that something had already shifted. Sleep came in fragments. She woke slowly, cocooned in warmth. For one disoriented moment, she thought the storm had been a dream. Then she realized she was not alone. A man lay beside her. Her breath caught violently. Nathaniel Ashcroft slept on his back, dark hair mussed, one arm flung across the mattress just inches from her waist. In sleep, his face was softer, unguarded in a way that felt dangerously intimate. Isabella bolted upright. "What?" she whispered. Memory returned in broken pieces. Exhaustion. Being helped down the corridor. The fire. Her legs giving way. She looked down. Her dress was gone, replaced with a modest nightgown. Oh no. The door opened. Nathaniel stood there, fully dressed now, eyes sharp and alert. "You're awake," he said evenly. "Why am I in your bed?" she demanded, panic rising. You collapsed, he replied. The guest wing flooded. This was the only dry chamber. You undressed me? I summoned my housekeeper, he said curtly. You were freezing. Her cheeks burned. This will ruin me. No, Nathaniel said firmly. It won't. You underestimate society. I do not answer to society. That may be true for you, she said, voice shaking. But it isn't for me. Silence stretched between them. Then he said quietly, You are safe here. And after? She asked. His jaw tightened. That depends. The storm did not relent. Roads remained impassable. Isabella stayed. Days passed beneath the same roof. Servants whispered. Nathaniel watched. Not with hunger, but with vigilance. You think I'm dangerous, she said one afternoon. I think you're frightened, he replied. Because I should be. No, he said. Because someone taught you to be. She learned him in pieces. A wife lost too young. A retreat from society that had hardened into habit. Rumors allowed to fester because correcting them required effort he no longer cared to spend. You don't deny them, she observed. I don't reward curiosity. But you care what happens to me. His gaze lingered. Yes. The danger arrived in a letter. Isabella recognized the seal instantly. Her guardian. Nathaniel read it silently, expression darkening. He's coming, she whispered. He believes I fled. If he finds me here. He won't take you, Nathaniel said. You don't understand, she said. He controls my inheritance. My future. Nathaniel folded the letter slowly. Then he has leverage. Yes. He looked at her, decision settling like armor. Then we remove it. Her breath hitched. How? I will marry you. The words echoed. My lord. I will not explain myself to him. Or anyone. You will be under my protection. Permanently. You don't love me, she said. No, he admitted. But I respect you. And I will never harm you. That's not the same. No, he said quietly. But it is a beginning. Her guardian arrived 2 days later. He never crossed the gates. The engagement was announced that evening. Society erupted. The Earl who refused companionship had chosen her. On their wedding night, Isabella stood trembling. I should tell you everything, she whispered. I already know enough, Nathaniel said gently. Come here. He kissed her slowly, reverently, not claiming, choosing. Love did not arrive like fire. It arrived like certainty, and shared breakfasts, an unspoken protection. In the way he reached for her without thinking. One night she whispered, I only needed shelter. Nathaniel smiled faintly. And I found a reason to stop being alone. She slept under his roof for one night. And he refused to let it ever end. The days that followed settled into a rhythm Isabella had never known. Not the anxious pacing of a guest waiting to be dismissed, nor the careful obedience of a woman living on another's charity, but something quieter, steadier. She woke each morning knowing where she belonged, not because she was watched but because she was wanted. Nathaniel did not change overnight. He was still reserved, still deliberate in every word and movement, but there were differences, small telling ones. He waited for her before meals now, never beginning without her at his side. When they walked the grounds, his hand rested lightly at the small of her back, guiding rather than restraining. When visitors were announced, rare as they were, he stood just a fraction closer to her, a silent declaration no one dared question. One evening, as they sat before the fire, Isabella finally asked the question that had been lingering between them. Why did you really let me stay that first night? Nathaniel did not answer at once. He stared into the flames, jaw tightening slightly. Because you look like someone who had spent her life being told to endure, he said at last. And I knew what that did to a person. She swallowed. You didn't even know me. No, he admitted. But I recognized the fear. And I recognized the silence. She turned to face him. And now, his gaze met hers unwavering. Now I recognize the strength. The words settled deep in her chest. Their marriage remained private in its beginnings. There were no grand declarations meant to convince the world. No performative affection staged for gossip. What grew between them did so away from watching eyes. In late-night conversations that stretched until the fire burned low. In the way Nathaniel listened when Isabella spoke, truly listened, never interrupting, never dismissing her thoughts as trivial. In the way Isabella learned his silences, understood when to press and when to simply remain beside him. One night, months later, a storm rolled across the hills again. Rain struck the windows with familiar insistence, thunder echoing through the manor. Isabella froze. Nathaniel noticed instantly. He crossed the room and drew her into his arms without a word, holding her until the tension left her body. "It's only weather," he murmured. "I know," she said quietly. "But it reminds me of fear, of change." He tipped her chin up gently. "That night did not take anything from you." "No," she agreed. "It gave me everything." He kissed her then, not with urgency but with certainty, with the assurance of a man who no longer questioned whether he was capable of love. Later, as they lay together in the quiet, Isabella whispered, "I was never meant to stay." Nathaniel brushed his thumb along her hand. "Neither was I." She smiled softly. "We disrupted each other's solitude. And found something better," he replied. The world beyond Blackridge continued as it always had. Unforgiving, calculating, eager to consume those without protection. But within its walls, Isabella was no longer a woman seeking shelter. She was a countess, partner, a presence that had reshaped the life of a man who had once believed himself finished with feeling. She had slept under his roof for one night, and in doing so, she had awakened something in him that refused to be quiet again. Not possession, not obligation, but choice. And that, Isabella realized, was the most dangerous and beautiful thing of all.